What's going on, guys? What a day. I gotta say, what a freaking day. What's going on, AA? Today was, I want to say, damn, today's actually been one of the more interesting days I think we've had in, what, probably about a few weeks. But today was just a blender. I think that's pretty much to sum it all up. That was a blender. All we can do now is just hold. Rainmaker, that's hilarious. Today was a blender. I mean, I don't know how much more to sum that up. I gotta, credit to the algos, these market makers. That was a hell of a whiplash that ended up happening today. I think if you ended up buying the bottom, I don't know how many times you could literally time the bottom of the top, and that was some pretty drastic price action in terms of the distance that we traveled north south since we had that Fed announcement. So that was a hell of a day. What was the key takeaways, pretty much, so I can highlight some things before I get into the charts here. The biggest takeaway wasn't even the fact that the Feds announced the rate hike that they did. I think the 75 basis points was pretty much irrelevant in terms of the overall market attempting to rally, right? The 75 basis point, the market could have handled that. We saw the market attempt to handle that 75 basis point announcement, and the market just took off momentarily right after we got that announcement of the 75 basis points, and then we saw the rip. But now, what was the caveat in amongst all of this? In which that's why I'm like the algos pretty much. I don't know how they ended up timing this. The fact that Powell, the timing of when Powell spit out the words that he said. But what ended up being the catalyst for the market to pretty much roll over as we saw into the close here was the fact that one Powell said that unemployment was going to increase, and then the second thing that he mentioned was that they were expecting to pretty much get longer. They're predicting more, forecasting more rate hikes than that was pretty much previously laid out for the market. All right. So the fact that we were maybe expecting, say, 3 to 4 rate hikes, now it's going to prolong it. We're likely going to end up getting more rate hikes going into next year. So that was pretty much the big catalyst of where you saw it was the trigger for this entire broader market sell-off. So we had the little 75 basis point rate hike that was announced. We ripped off of that. Powell decided to open his mouth, say some crap about the forecast, and we ended up seeing the dump. And what this tells me right now, and everyone, trying to pretty much predict the fact that we know, should I buy the dip? Is this the dip? Do we see the market face rip? What this pretty much told me, the fact of the market selling off in the fashion that it did into the close. I think we broke a few key levels here into the close as well. But what that told me is that the market's not done pricing in the fact that we're going to have more rate hikes than what was previously anticipated. And so, for that reason, with the market having to pretty much price in future rate hikes going into next year, I do expect the market's going to continue to this little rollover that we had into the close here today. And so, I would have been cautious. No, I think I pretty much said that in our dojo chat. I would be cautious for anyone that attempted to buy the dip into the close. Not to say that you may not get a dead cat tomorrow, more so, but I don't think the upside is favored here, as the market is going to pretty much within the next few days here continue to price in further rate hikes that were announced. So that's where I'm at with pretty much the macro perspective of what was said by Powell, the rate hike that was announced that to me was still irrelevant in terms of this little dump that we had. The current rate hike, I don't think had anything to do with the fact that we dumped it today. We saw the immediate reaction. The market did not necessarily care about the 75 basis point. It's the fact that what he forecasted. All right. So that's a big sentiment in terms of the macro perspective that I kind of just wanted to lay out there and what I interpreted for the markets. Now we get into the fun stuff pretty much in looking at some charts. And obviously the fact that we had such a massive sell off, of course, a lot of key levels being broken. So I'm gonna kind of go through the charts here. Those of you that are gonna request some tickers, and I'll kind of go through them right now. I'll likely go through quite a few of the charts later on tonight, in depth. By myself, kind of go through, marked up some key levels that I want to have outlined as the fact that we had such a volatile day. So I'm gonna pretty much do that later on tonight, and I'll probably have that laid out going into tomorrow. So I have a game plan going into tomorrow. But I will look through some of those key charts that you guys saw. If you guys have any names that you want to actually take a look at, we'll go through those. We'll see where those key levels of demand, potential supports are, and where we have some overhead supply if we do get any kind of dead cat, any kind of bounce tomorrow. All right. So getting into futures here real quick. This is pretty much where I think it gets key. I think those of you that saw, if I get down to the hourly, I'm just gonna give you the kind of a little bit of a intraday kind of formation that I was looking at. What I particularly saw was a head and shoulders action, and I did draw that. I pretty much dropped that into the dojo as well. And if I just highlight that, you can basically see that head and shoulders was just basically clear as day, right? And we never even pretty much invalidated that, even on the little pump that we had into the back end of that Fed announcement. So you see, I think it's clear as day. You had the little pump, gave you that peak of the right shoulder, and then you just